Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and of course we typically feature a beer of the week. I'm Matt, with me as always is Lauren. And today we are going to be talking about the man himself, the devil of Hell's Kitchen. Again, it's a big month for Daredevil and Marvel fans, and with Born Again out, we are going to be discussing the comic book origin, diving into oversimplification, because let's be honest, you can probably go into a few episodes long of all of the good Daredevil origin, but we're going to talk about him, Foggy, Karen, and we might even talk about White Tiger a little bit, who is supposed to be in Daredevil Born Again. I'm not going to spoil anything for those who haven't watched it yet and plan to, but first things first, Hopsgeek News, any social media platform, any podcast platform, do us a favor, like, subscribe, share, follow, leave a comment, go to our website, all that good stuff. Find us at GalaxyCon Richmond the last weekend of March, where we have two panels, and then we also will be having an event at Benchtop Brewing. And then please do us a favor, just do that. That's it. That's it. We like to go into what we've been drinking. We like to go into what we've been reading or watching, and then some news, and then get into our main topic. So my beer of the day is from Tired Hands Brewing. It's called Alien Church. I picked it, of course, because Matt Murdock has the Catholic rage upon him. So that's why I chose this beer. That's what I got. Lauren, what you got over there?
I have, because I still have an arsenal of Calusa, so I have Happy Colors Double IPA.
Awesome.
So I'm doing a stretch here, but Happy Hogan was played by Jon Favreau, and Jon Favreau played Foggy. So that's my connection this week. I do have it. It's a other half glass, so I have New York.
That's so funny. He
on my
played.
It is
He
funny.
played Foggy at one point. That's so crazy to me to think about in that interesting Daredevil movie.
Because I was actually looking
too.
up.
Actually, I want to rewatch it.
Yeah, and it's all on Disney Plus now too, so we have it at our fingertips. But I was when I was doing, I think, the prep for our last Daredevil episode or something, I looked up like some of the characters, and I didn't realize like the lady from Grey's Anatomy played Karen.
Yeah,
Like I didn't
I
remember
totally forgot
any
she
of
was in that
that.
movie.
And obviously Colin Farrell's Bullseye.
Yes,
Oh,
very
the guy
Irish.
from Green
Very.
Mile is
He's
Kingpin.
yeah, Wilson Fisk. That was pretty awesome, and it had a lot of good actors and actresses in those movies. They just were interesting, to say the
I
least.
feel like they didn't really
So,
know what they were doing with comic book movies yet. It was
no,
like,
it was the early 2000s, man. It's like
yeah,
Spider-Man was like a new thing. So that
X-Men
was
was new.
X-Men was kind of that, it was a weird, interesting time, but I think we should revisit that since we're all about Daredevil. I'm feeling like that needs a revisit, but let's go into what we've been reading or watching. Just a couple comic books on my end this week. Hyde Street issue 4 from Ghost Machine Image Comics. Jeff Johns, Ivan Reis, Danny Miki, Brad Anderson. This issue is really good. It actually features an actor, Mr. Oddman, who is a struggling actor, and he, like most actors, have insecurities, which lead to him getting to Hyde Street. And not every person, creature, being is a villain on Hyde Street, but at the end of the day, they need to get 10,000 souls. And so that is a very interesting story. There's a really, really cool one shot in that issue up close of the monster that is in this feature. So I'm going to leave that there because I don't want to really spoil things for those who might not have read it and want to. But you
It's
should
really
definitely
good.
be
I
that up.
read it. I'm loving Hyde
Yeah,
Street.
loving. It's such a, if you're a horror comic book fan or a horror fan, you would really enjoy this. A lot of good characters, really well written. The drawings, the art, colors, man, it is freaking amazing. And then Two-Face issue 4 from our pal Christian Ward, DC Comics, was my DC comic book this week. I like this issue a lot too, because for the first time, we really kind of go into Harvey Dent's childhood backstory. Kind of, he was abused in this version as a kid by his dad. His parents divorced. He would go visit his father, who would beat him and flip a coin. If he was the coin, essentially how we got the coin was his dad would flip the coin to decide if he was going to beat him or not. And so that's kind of where he came in. To hide the pain, he created the shadow character to hide in a box. His mom kind of taught him how to do that. And so that's kind of where the duality of him was birthed. And he locked him away at one point because he didn't need him anymore. And of course, once he got acid poured on his face, that character came back out. He didn't go to therapy ever. Instead, he created this bad guy persona, flipping the coin. And that's Harvey Dent. And actually, it's really, really good, really well done. The colors are psychedelic. I really enjoyed that comic book. And then I didn't really watch anything except for the Oscars. So I just want to shout out real quick to IMDb and Crunch for sending that box to prepare the Oscars box. It was awesome. There's a bunch of Crunch in there. There was popcorn. There was a disposable camera that I'm actually going to take on the cruise with us because I think that'd be fun.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Cruise. Yeah. And they had the Oscar ballots and we did some bingo. So Carrie and I sat and watched the Oscars and had fun doing it with the box that Crunch sent us. And then there's another blankets. I got 2 Crunch blankets now. They're really soft too, man. They're so freaking comfortable. So I want to say thank you to them for sending those to me. That's all I've got. I've been watching my, The Floor with Brian O'Halloran. The kids are it's a family show for us. Really big into that. Can't wait to see him at GalaxyCon. I've been watching Deal or Don't Deal Island, of course, but as
Of
far
course. I
yeah,
mean,
come on.
you
That's
have
about
to
the only
watch
TV
Deal
show I've
or
really
No
watched
Deal
besides
Island.
Daredevil
Is
Born
that like the
Again.
old school, like Deal or No Deal, but it's
Oh
on an
no.
island? Is that all?
So they
I
go to the
feel I'm
island.
already regretting asking this.
Yes,
Okay.
they go to the island. It's contestants. You basically have it's like it's a lukewarm version of Survivor, but they're in like bougie camping tents, and they have to do a
Glamping.
contest every day, competition. Whoever is in the bottom 2, basically. So like whoever finds the cases with the most money, that's how it is. You go to find the cases on these challenges, and one case gets you immunity, you get safe. The bottom, the least amount of money gets you to face the banker, or can put you in danger of facing the banker. The person who got the highest case gets to choose who plays the banker, and then you do Deal or No Deal that night. And if you win and make a good deal, you get to vote somebody out. But if you make a bad deal, then you're out. It's fun, man. It's really fun, stupid television. Joe Manganiello is the host, and he's really good at it,
Mm.
and he's charismatic, and it's just fun, And it's one of those things that I know I could definitely do it, but then some of those challenges are like, wow, this guy's jacked, and even he had a problem. Like there was quickstand they had to get through last night, and I was like, I'd be dead. And
Quicksand.
yeah,
Oof.
but it's a fun show. I definitely recommend. It's a fun show. It's something to turn your brain off to. And Daredevil Born Again is what we've been watching. Go on, listen to our Cantina hour that we did discussing the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. That's out there. That's what I've got into. So, Lauren, before we hit some news.
So my comic review this week was Wolverine by Saladin Ahmed and Martin Coccolo. But what has been so fun about this run is this is the one I keep saying, like, it has really good twists and turns and you're not seeing it.
Oh, right,
So
right,
the
right. Okay.
last issue, Romulus showed up. And that is like an old school villain of Wolverine's, but I feel like he's
Yeah,
never
he
in
created
current.
Rome.
Yeah, and he likes to talk about that and brag, and Wolverine's like,
Oh,
I
wait,
take what
he
he
actually
says with
did?
a. He says that he did. Yes, he says that like in
Oh,
the
I was
comic, and
making a
Wolverine's like.
Romulus Remus joke about ancient Rome. Wow. I'm like sidekick. It's cool.
So Wolverine's like telling Laura, like, take what he says with a grain of salt. Not everything he says is whatever. But what was really cool about this comic is there's so much action with Romulus and Wolverine going toe to toe, or claw to claw. But during this,
Ooh.
Romulus is giving like a history lesson, like of where he's been, and he's telling Laura all this history of the significance of like adamantium, and is a made up BS thing, and it's all about the adamantine, and it's a really fun comic. I'm really
Okay.
enjoying it, so highly recommend that one. And then I read a whole bunch of Flash comics this weekend,
You
actually.
did. I'm proud of you.
So I found this website. Shout out to Jess, who is one of our Patreons and one of my oldest friends, thriftbooks.com. I went on there and I got a bunch of books. So I was like, well, I need to clear out. Like, I have one section in my bookshelf that's like to read. So I'm like, I got to clear stuff out. So I had all these Flash trade backs that I got from my brother-in-law that they're from like 2005, 2006. So I think I read probably 30 Flash comics this weekend.
That's my favorite
And one of them
DC
was by
character. It's exciting.
Francis Manapul, which was really cool to like open it. And, I'm sitting on the beach with my husband and I open it and I'm like, oh, I interviewed this guy. And my husband's like,
And I
oh,
have
that's
his
cool. I
artwork
mean,
tattooed on me, funny enough, because I didn't even put that together until you sent the thing. And I was like, wait,
that
I
looks
remember.
familiar.
It's on my body. I knew I've had it. I just didn't make the connection ever in my brain that, oh yeah, we know Francis. Francis.
But they kept making, references to Flashpoint. I think it was Flash. I'll have to take a picture of it. I have it out there. It's like Flash Reborn.
It was the
And then like the
rebirth.
new
Yeah, the rebirth.
52.
It's from the
Yeah.
new 52 rebirth. That's the time that I got back into DC big. That's with Scott Snyder. The Court of Owls came out of that. So if you liked some
Oh.
of what you read, I have the Court of Owls storyline from the new 52, and then I had like all of that run of the Flash rebirth. So when I see you, well, you're coming to my house in a couple weeks, so I'll show you all what I have. But yeah, I have all those because the new 52 is what got me back in it. And a lot of people didn't really like the new 52. I thought it was fine. I really like the Flash, for example, and Aquaman and them. And of course, the Court of Owls is like the biggest Batman story to come out. But
Well, I
people
like
had
Green
complaints.
Lantern. It was funny.
Yeah,
This
it
was
was cool.
primarily about Reverse Flash and Wally. There was two Wallys in it. And but it was always so interesting seeing Iris, not the Iris I know, because I have all these visions
Oh,
in
she
my
almost said
head.
it, folks.
from
You were gonna get
CW.
so canceled.
Oh, because yeah, she's white in the comics. So I was
I
like,
know
oh,
you
that's
were
not
about to say
Iris.
because she's white in the comics.
Oh, I was
Oh,
also
you're getting
burping.
so
My bad.
canceled.
But no, because I'm so used to seeing, and even Barry Allen, like he's not blonde.
I
Like, well,
know.
Barry
Yeah.
Allen
Well,
is blonde, but like
Grant
Grant
Gustin
Gustin's
isn't
not
what you
blonde,
think of Flash. Yeah, we haven't had a live action
right?
Flash that encapsulated the blonde haired Flash that we've kind of seen in
Yeah,
the comic
because
books. Funny
blonde's
enough,
not super common, and also it's like I felt like I love Grant Gustin as the Flash.
I
I
do
think he's
too. Yeah.
fantastic, but I do feel like he looks more like a younger kid. Even though
Yeah.
he's grown now, but he was still like a skinny kid, whereas the Flash in the comics is more like
He's an
built
adult.
and cut and
Well, yeah,
blonde.
of
Yeah,
course.
he's
All
more like
superheroes are
Thor.
buff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like these characters and all of there's no Cisco or anything, but I really like it. Went all sorts into the past, into the future. It was very interesting hearing Reverse Flash's story in that regard because I also haven't watched the show in so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really good. And then I started reading Flights Across America
Yeah.
by
We're gonna be
Joel
talking to
Gear. We
Joel.
will be having him on shortly, so I have not finished that. And then we are kicking off a book club for Nerd Initiative. We're always looking for new projects to do. So I decided once a month I'm going to pick a book, announce it at the
That's
beginning of the
fun.
month, and I'll write a review at the end. Anybody from Nerd Initiative who wants to join in and write reviews, they can. The book I'm doing, if you want to read along this month, is Ahsoka by E.K. Johnston.
Do we
It
get to
takes place.
virtually sit around in like a circle and talk about it?
I
I
mean,
just
if people
picture what book.
want to
I'm just
do that, they
thinking book
can.
clubs from Supernatural, and they're all witches talking about tax evasion.
They're not really talking about the book. Yeah, they're just trying to get better mortgage rates and murder their husbands. No, I don't. If it were to pick up steam and people wanted to do that, I could see doing
Right.
that. But as of
That'd be
right
fun.
now, it'd
I
be
just
more so just
this
comments
is
and
what I read.
recommendations,
Yeah.
and yeah,
That's
and a
fun. No,
review.
that's a
And
really good idea. That's really fun.
I'm hoping to get some recommendations myself. And honestly, I usually don't read more than one book a month because I read so many comics. I don't have time to read so many books. But that's what
Yeah,
I've
no, that
been
makes
reading.
sense. That's
Oh,
why I haven't read as many books either, because I'm on the comic train heavily. Next week, I'm going to be reading like and reviewing 7 or 8 comics. So yeah,
yeah, you do way more than I do.
yeah.
And I'm on season 2 of White Lotus. Like, what even is that show?
Oh yes, that show is. Oh, this is a good one. That's Aubrey Plaza in this one. Yeah,
Yes, I love
it's a
Aubrey
lot of
Plaza.
fun. I'm. What'd you think about season 1? I have been watching White Lotus season 3. I've didn't write a recap this week. I'm sorry, HBO, but I have.
I wish you
I
had
love that show.
I wish you had warned me about the finale. I was like closing. I'm like, this
Oh
is
yeah.
disgusting. And Josh is like, oh my God, don't look, don't look. Oh, it's terrible. No, I liked it. I really didn't know what to expect. And then I was very shocked when season 2 picks up as an entire new cast other than Jennifer
Oh, each season's
Coolidge
a new cast, a different
and
White
yeah,
Lotus.
Uncle
Yeah.
Rico.
But there are
Um,
certain characters that weave throughout that connect everything.
hmm.
It's not
But
like
I've
a
heard
connected.
the
It's yeah.
tourism in those areas where they film White Lotus though are getting like hammered in a not good way.
Oh,
But
yeah. I know for Lotus season 3, they spent 7 months filming in Thailand, and Jason Isaacs was like, "It's a freaking prison after so long," which is funny. But the price you pay to be a high paid actor in a show, to be in Thailand for 7 months, and it's a prison. Jeez. Anyways, off my high horse. Let's go into some news real quick. We don't really have much news this week, which is kind of nice because we have a lot to talk about with Matthew Murdock, sir. First things first, Matthew Lillard, speaking of Daredevil, has been cast for season 2 of Daredevil. I don't think they're calling it Born Again. Is it Born Again? Daredevil Born Again season 2? Like, I'm interested because I thought Born Again was just like Daredevil Born Again. That was like the season. So I'm
I don't
curious if
know.
they're going to keep the Born Again. I never thought about that until just now, actually.
I didn't think about it until you said it. Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense if they're following the certain storyline for this one, then they change it up for the next one.
Yeah, because Born Again's like a storyline from the comics and everything. So,
I have it
huh.
right here.
I don't know. Well, that's what I got. Screenboat will be in theaters for a limited time starting April 2nd. I hope there's a theater near me because honestly, I really want to see that movie. I didn't get to at MegaCon, so that's what I'm hoping to do. What else you got?
I like that they made it April 2nd and not April 1st because maybe people wouldn't
It's a
believe it
big
was
joke.
real.
Well, April 1st is a Tuesday, so I guess.
So X-Men 97 season 2 will release in 2026. So only one more year.
Yeah, that's not bad. But it's
And
also
then
next year is when Daredevil season 2 is supposed to come out too. So we've got a couple things to look forward to next year with Marvel.
I really hope they don't like stall on getting Daredevil season 2 out. And then Kristen Ritter and Neil Patrick Harris are both joining the cast of Dexter Resurrection. Somebody thought that was fake. They're like, "Is that
Ooh.
real? That's not real." I'm like, "No, it
Well,
is
she was in
real."
New York and people are posting it. She's in New York and they're filming Daredevil season 2. And
Maybe
then it
it's
turns
actually
out she's
Jessica
in
Jones.
Dexter. Yeah. Well, it could be. Why not? She's there at the same time. What if there's a little bit of crossover
That would have been
happening?
cool. Yeah, Michael C. Hall could play a superhero. He could play a good villain.
He could, actually. He really could. My final piece of news: Catherine Newton has been cast alongside Samara Weaving in Ready or Not #2, which, if you haven't seen Ready or Not, highly recommend. Samara Weaving was killer in that movie. And Catherine Newton is low key a pretty good scream queen herself. Lisa Frankenstein was one of the better movies that I saw last year. She was in Supernatural. She was in that movie Abigail as well. And that movie rocked a
Ant-Man
ton.
Quantumania.
Well, I'm talking about horror movies, man.
Oh, my
I'm talking
bad.
about Catherine Newton as a
Some
scream
people thought
queen.
that Murdock made it a horror
Oh,
movie.
well, yeah, that's fair. Okay, maybe you're onto something. Yeah, no, but Catherine Newton deserves a lot of praise in the horror genre. She does a really great job.
Supernatural's horror.
I said that.
Oh,
You don't
sorry.
even listen to me,
I'm sorry. I was
guys.
looking at my notes.
This is depressing.
I'm trying to be prepared for the next thing. It's hard. It's
Okay.
a lot. I don't have the
Well,
ADD
Lauren doesn't
brain, so I
care.
can
She's
only focus on
ready.
one thing at a time.
She's ready to move on to Daredevil. The music is playing me off the stage. So
I don't have the
let's go
ADD
ahead.
superpower.
Let's get to a couple of these sponsors of ads that we have to roll, and we'll be back to begin
It's
some
casinos.
Daredevil. Yeah, or whatever it is. It's all location based. I usually get, I don't know what I get.
Gotten
It's
hair
Daredevil every
removal.
time. Oh man. Well, funny. Anyways, we'll be right back.
Bunnytail Designs Co. is out of this galaxy, with bags for any and every occasion you just may need. Maximum effort was put into every bag, and there's koozies too. Whether you're raising muggles or wizards, these are the bags for you. Or hunting demons, or running from demigorgons, or traveling the galaxy. So get a bag and peep that fit. Great for kids too. Cheers.
All right, guys, we're back. We're talking about the little man in red, or sometimes gold.
He's so cute. Or
Daredevil.
sometimes black.
Sometimes black. I love his black and red suit. Honestly,
Me
it's probably my
too.
favorite one. And truthfully, I was doing research for the show. You know, I was sitting there last night, didn't know what to do with myself. I'm researching, I'm diving into Matthew Murdock. I've never really had a favorite Marvel character. For some reason, everyone's like, who's your favorite Marvel character? So people, when they
Honestly,
find
I
out I have a
do.
podcast, their first question is, who's your favorite Marvel character? I'm like, God dang it.
Nobody asks me that. They're like, you have a
There's
podcast about comic books? Okay.
Yeah, well, they all hear. So at work, they're like, I hear you have a Marvel show or something. You talk about Marvel on a show or something. And I'm like, I do. Yeah. And they're like, well, what's your favorite Marvel character? And I don't know. I usually give some BS answer. Ant-Man's typically I go with because I love the
Oh,
movies.
yeah, you said that.
But I've never had one character that I've been just I've never had a Batman or Flash version of Marvel for me. For DC, it's Batman and Flash and Aquaman are my three favorite heroes. I will ride for them all day, every day. But I've never thought with Marvel until I think now. I think I can definitively say that Daredevil might actually be my number one favorite Marvel character after going through all these storylines, the shows, learning about him, learning about his history. I think I finally found him. It took me forever. I'm
Yeah.
34. And here we are 5 years into this podcast. And I think I finally have a favorite Marvel character, and it's Daredevil. So why don't you go ahead and take us away with his first appearance of Daredevil?
So, Matthew Michael Murdock is Daredevil. His first appearance is in Daredevil #1 of April 1964, created by Stan Lee and Bill Everett. Stan Lee wanted to create a superhero that had a great weakness, but gained superhero powers to compensate for it. In this first issue, we meet Matt, the son of a professional boxer named Battle and Jack, who's forced to do some stuff for the mob to make ends meet. Matt receives his powers after going blind due to saving a blind person from getting hit by a car, which resulted in a container of radioactive material getting into his eyes, leaving him blind. He does then get the heightened powers, and Stick does then train him. His first costume, however, was yellow and red as a nod to wrestling costumes. So this first run actually ran for an incredibly long time, from 64 to 98. And at first it was being written by Stan Lee and drawn up by Bill Everett, with some help from the amazing Jack Kirby. Stan wrote Daredevil up until 1969. So he was writing him for quite a few years. Much like the series, Daredevil's usually in Hell's Kitchen. However, unlike Netflix, we actually see Matt and Karen date, and not just put her second to Elektra and then forget they ever even went on a date. Of course, though,
I
the
know,
relationship is
that's
up and
annoying.
down throughout the run. Yeah. His best friend Foggy also appears as a recurring character throughout all the Daredevil series as Matt Murdock's close friend since college and avocado at law partner. So I mean, the show was really on point with the comic origin. I feel like the only thing that really changed in the things that I just said is, for one, he does have another mentor. It's not just Stick, and we'll mention that person in a minute. But it's like the guy he saved was blind. Like, outside of that and the
Yeah.
color of the first costume, I feel like the Netflix series really was just like to a T.
They kept it really faithful, I thought, and they have towed the line. It seems like they're almost afraid to fully put Karen and Matt together, even though they date on and off again a lot, and their relationships that we'll go over a little bit is very touch and go, as with Foggy in the comic books. But I will even say that in the TV show, Foggy is done way better than I think in the comics. In the comics, they kind of make Foggy out to be this kind of punk character in a lot of ways. Whereas in the show, I loved Foggy. I thought he was an even match and very much on par with Matt Murdock and Charlie Cox, and even Karen Page herself's a badass in the show. So I think they did a really good job with that. And, there's a lot to go over. So over 30 years worth of just character history with Matt Murdock and Daredevil. So there's a lot of creators
still
that
growing too.
Right. It's every they have new runs coming out, but a lot of creators have gotten to play in this world of the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. So Wally Wood gave us the well-known red costume and started in issue 7 when he was up against Namor, the Submariner. He also had a radio receiver in the helmet and had the horns act as an antenna. And this was to increase his already over-the-top senses, which obviously didn't last. I think that whole
like little antenna. It sounds like an alien, like dee dee. I don't know.
Right? I mean, it's weird that you would put an antenna in a radio,
but I think they're trying to make it futuristic. Like, you think in the 60s, like, they couldn't do the comms in the ears, like,
right. I always still find that in movies. It's funny that when they talk, they're like, you don't, if you have a comm in your ear, you're talking. It's like an AirPod. You don't have to touch your ear, you idiots.
I mean, also, like, these things used to be fictional and now they're real. Yeah. So when they were, fictional in the comics before, it's like Star Trek had iPads, or Star Wars had iPads. I don't know if Star Trek did. I might have made that up. I've never seen. Well, you can't have lightsabers because everybody would have cut off body parts using them on themselves.
Would make storming the Capitol easier, that's for sure.
There's no way in hell a lightsaber will ever be an efficient weapon because it's too dangerous.
Yeah, I know. But think of the fun we could have. Anyways,
it's all fun and games until everybody loses an arm, and we don't have really good prosthetics like they do in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so,
all right, moving on. We also have John Romita Sr., Gene Colan, Roy Thomas, Jerry Conway, Steve Gerber, Marv Wolfman, who actually gave us Bullseye. Roger McKenzie stepped in and gave Daredevil some horror feel. Then in the early 80s, Frank Miller, who you might have heard of, jumped aboard, giving Daredevil a crime comic feel with noir and ninja influences. His run really is what cemented Daredevil as a top tier character in Marvel, and it really took off. It was some of the best selling comic books throughout the 80s. And during this time, Daredevil, it led to him introducing Matt Murdock to Elektra, because the only thing worse than an ex-girlfriend is an ex-girlfriend with an army of evil ninjas, of course. Duh. Also,
like Scott Pilgrim.
This was known as the Hand, who we met in the TV show in season 2. And Frank Miller actually pushed Bullseye and Kingpin as Daredevil's primary villains. In addition to Elektra, we also have Frank to thank. That's a weird thing. We also have Frank to thank for Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. I know that threw me off a little bit. Like
Frank to thank for Frank.
I
wonder if he named the character after himself. I mean, yeah, Frank sounds like. I mean, it sounds great when he's yelling at Frank.
Yeah,
Frank.
Yeah, so that threw me off. I was thinking Frank the Tank in my head. Anyways, after Elektra was shockingly killed by Bullseye, Dennis O'Neil stepped in for a bit, and then Frank Miller returned to the series to write the Born Again storyline, which is kind of what we're getting with Disney's story. In this story, Karen becomes addicted to heroin. I do wonder, and actually sells Matt's secret identity to his enemies. So that's a very interesting. We're going to get into it where we dive into Karen a little bit. There's a lot to kind of discuss there.
She's got some dark.
Yes.
Way darker past than they hinted at in the Netflix
They
show.
touched on it, and it gets a lot worse. So Frank Miller also was the one who emphasized Matt's Catholicism. He gives us Stick and Chast, who is Matt's sensei after he loses his sight. I guess these two were combined for the show. We only ever see Stick training Maddie, and the Netflix series. He was also known for revamping certain characters and storylines. In the Netflix series, we also get the OG dad, Battling Jack, who loved Matt and wanted him to do good in school. So he did, and then he became a lawyer, of course. However, Frank decided to go darker. He made Battling Jack an alcoholic father who was also abusive, which was not very well received.
I don't like that, because I feel like that's like, Matt already lost his dad young. His mom's daughter is already not in the picture. Like, he lost his sight. He doesn't need more trauma. Are we going to beat a blind kid? Like, Jesus.
So that's the thing, right? Like, not everybody needs to be a crappy parent, I guess. And maybe it's what gives us and forges these superheroes, but I always really hate when that's somebody's background. It's, well, they were abused as a kid. It's like, well, do they have to be abused? What if they just wanted to save the world because they saw the world as a crappy place? You know, I get it.
Or it's like Sam Wilson went to war. But I mean, what's funny though is Sam Wilson's parents had a real good marriage, just like Clarence's parents.
I was about to say, maybe beat me too. Clarence's parents had a real good marriage. That's right. Well, I mean, Captain America, I guess, didn't have a bad past. He just got frozen in ice for a while.
But he was wartime. So it was like everybody, that was when that's when superheroes were essentially created. We needed.
No superhero is happy-go-lucky unless you're Scott Lang, who's.
Spider-Man's pretty funny.
I mean, true. But Scott Lang also, to be fair, at least in the MCU, he was robbing from the rich. So it's not like he had a bad past. He was just divorced, which.
He was just divorced.
I guess it was, anyways.
But I mean, Spider-Man had Ben and May were good supportive parents, but he did lose his actual parents. But he's a goofball when he has the costume on. It's like gives him powers and not just physical powers. It gives him like personality powers. Like, he's not as awkward.
That's fair. That's a good point. Now, real quick, another revamp to Frank Miller was that Kingpin was originally a Spider-Man villain. Frank then turns him into a well-known Daredevil villain. He still gets into it with Spider-Man throughout the years, of course. Now, in a dark storyline, which may actually sound familiar, issue 181 in 1982, Daredevil went dark and threw Bullseye off of a roof trying to kill him. Bullseye survives, of course. He becomes quadriplegic and a little adamantium in the spine, actually. And he's actually good as new. Interesting, because Born Again, perhaps, maybe. And it's also interesting because Kingpin was the one who broke his back at the end of season 3.
That was a great scene, though. I know we talked about it a lot, but just showcasing
it was
his
so
strength,
gnarly.
Just
and he smashed him through the wall. Oh, that was rad. Just so good.
Because you forget that Kingpin is
strong.
Is so freaking strong. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got this crazy strength. So in 1993, Frank Miller actually then went on to do a 5-issue run called Daredevil, The Man Without Fear. This is where John Romita Jr. did the art, and this is a retcon for Battling Jack. The story gives us more on Stick and shows the early stages of Matt and Elektra's romantic relationship. Miller made Elektra more sexually aggressive in this. You cannot mask that ass. And this was originally going to be a story for a TV series, excuse me. Now, in the late 90s, 1999 to be exact, the one and only Kevin Smith contributes to the comic book storytelling of Daredevil when he has Bullseye kill Karen. And, he really loves killing beloved characters. And Kevin Smith, that's a really underrated run. Jimmy Palmiotti was also on that book as well, in Joe Quesada. Sorry, Jesus, I can't get my names right. They were working on this together in 1999. But yeah, that's when this also brings Daredevil to his brink again when they kill Karen. And it's a very, very crazy good storyline that I think a lot of people would really enjoy reading. Kevin Smith is underrated in the comic book world just because he made Batman pee himself once. Okay. It's not his fault.
And he's also notoriously known for dick and fart jokes. So it's there are certain comic book characters that you don't really it's great for Deadpool. You should write some Deadpool, but there are some comic book characters that people are well, I don't want that in this storyline.
Right.
But I mean, we do go more into that when we get to Karen.
Yeah. So before we do get down there to some more of these must-read comic book storylines and Foggy and Karen, why don't you give us some fun facts about Maya Lopez?
So these are some random Daredevil ones and a little bit of Maya Lopez, which if you've been listening to us for a while, then you heard some of these when we did our Echo episode. But Peter once showed up to court dressed as Daredevil to try and help Matt Murdock cover up his identity, which I thought is so sweet. Matt once helped the Purple Man's kids when the Purple Man was trying to manipulate them. I don't know if you remember Purple Man from Jessica.
Yeah, yes, I do.
So the kids then actually helped Matt to make his secret identity a secret again after he was forced to come clean by the Sons of the Serpent.
I always loved we lose our memories kind of deal. Like it's always a break out of jail, like break in case of emergency. No, I know what we can do. Everybody forgets.
I know. I don't even know how that would make any sense, especially with like
Yeah.
pictures and yeah. Even when they did that in Supernatural, you're just gonna have them, Ben and what's her
Everybody
face? They're just gonna forget Dean.
forgets.
Oh, and then people are gonna be like, "Oh, where's Dean?" And they'll be like, "Who's Dean? Why do people keep asking us who Dean is or how Dean is?"
Dean? Who is this Dean?
So here's actually a little bit about that run in the Kevin Smith Joe Quesada run. They went deep into religion, and they even had a teenager claiming her baby was the product of immaculate conception.
Yeah.
She also said an angel told her that Matt was Daredevil. Someone else tells him that the baby is the Antichrist. Then Karen tells Matt that she has HIV that she got from a porn star because she's been doing porn. This was an 8-issue run. It was actually called Guardian Devil, if anyone wants to check it out. We touch on this a little bit throughout, but if you want more lots of chaos, that's the name of the book.
Like you said, Karen Page has a lot going on in her life.
She really does. She seems but like it's funny because in the series, for everything that's happened to her, she's incredibly put together. She really does keep it together. And yeah, she's just trauma after trauma. So Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, and Daredevil are lovers at one point, which that sounds
all right, Matt.
lovely.
Interesting.
At another point when Bullseye was in jail, Kingpin the first time that Matt fought Bullseye, Dex was just trying to extort the rich people, and then Kingpin found him and hired him to kill Daredevil, which was obviously unsuccessful.
Yep.
Then at one point when Bullseye was actually in jail, Kingpin decided to hire Elektra to replace him. Well, when Bullseye got out of jail, he was like, no, I want my job back, and he killed Elektra, which caused Matt to totally lose his mind, and this is actually when he broke his back and why he broke his back.
Stop falling in love with hot women, okay? That's your problem, all right? Jeez.
Then at another point, Matt had amnesia. During this time, Bullseye actually dressed up as Daredevil and did some really bad stuff to discredit Daredevil. And obviously we saw that in season 3, but Matt didn't have amnesia. It's like soap opera. Like that's their like get out of jail free card, right?
Again,
like amnesia.
I
guess that's what it is.
And you're the hero. Bonk right on the head.
So much like in season 3, when we did finally kill Karen in the comics, though, he had the help of Mysterio.
So basically like Mysterio was playing mind tricks, and then it came out
he does.
Yeah, and then it came out it was all just this crazy thing going on, and Karen didn't ever actually have HIV, and she didn't.
Like what?
She
when I was going through this, I was like, "You got to be kidding me right now."
Yeah, it was a weird. So she didn't have HIV.
I hope it was a wake up call since she was doing porn.
Right. Well, that's why they get tested all the time, man.
And apparently it wasn't even good porn. It was what it was described in my Marvel book was crappy porn.
Yeah.
But, okay. All right, so Jessica Jones and Luke Cage actually started eyeing each other when they were both bodyguards for Matt, and obviously later the three of them and the immortal Iron Fist become the Defenders. When Matt was leader of the Hand at one point, that is when he donned the black suit.
He does take, which I wonder if that would ever be something that they do in a TV show or something at one point, depending how long this goes. It would kind of be fun to see him as the leader of the Hand a little bit. That would be a cool departure almost.
Bring Elektra back. We never saw her body.
Yeah. Really too, actually, Daredevil would really fit in well with Shang-Chi more than a lot of people would think. The 10 rings and all of that. He has his army over there, his sister anyways. So I think if they really wanted to, they could even do some sort of team up with Shang-Chi and Matt Murdock in the MCU, as far as his sister gaining control of the Hand as well as with the 10 rings. And I think that would be right. I think that could be a potential good storyline that they do. I know this is a comic book origin, but as we kind of talk, that's something that I think would be really cool to see in the MCU if they are going to start folding characters eventually in together.
Oh, and isn't Shang-Chi's in San Francisco too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
We can talk more about that on our Canteen Hour. That is already in the past, and you can already go back and listen.
Yeah, we haven't done it yet, but we did.
It was a really good one.
Listening to this one, it was great. It was awesome. You had to be there. You could still be there. Go back and listen to it. Yay. Anyways.
But yeah, that could be really cool because they really kind of just pushed Elektra aside. Like I know the building fell on them, but they assumed Matt was dead, and Matt's like half unconscious asking for Elektra, and then that's it.
You never see a body.
Right. And thing was opening up to like Kunlun or to get whatever they needed to
Listen,
resurrect or
it's
whatever.
comic
But yeah.
book stuff. Anybody could be alive at any time for no
Except
reason,
Uncle
okay?
Ben. Okay,
Sure.
speaking of Ben Urich, who we saw Fisk kill in season 1 from the New York Bulletin, originally worked for the Daily Bugle and was big on
Hold on.
Daredevil and uncovering his identity.
Never mind, you didn't. Okay, sorry.
I did skip a
missed.
part because I
You
was
did.
just a good segue.
You're right.
However, shockingly, he then learned his nephew was Hobgoblin. So Melvin,
hate when that
remember
happens.
poor Melvin?
I do. I hope we get him back too.
I don't know that we will, only
I
because
don't think we will either because he already has a new suit and everything. So who makes the suits now?
the guy from She-Hulk, the guy he was defending.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember what his name was.
I forgot his name too. That's right. Oh, that's such a cop-out, man. Whatever.
So-
Poor Melvin. Justice for Melvin, dude.
Yes, Melvin was so sweet. He just wanted to protect
He didn't
Betsy.
deserve it. Yeah.
So Melvin is the guy who makes the Netflix suits, and he first actually appeared in Daredevil comics back in 1966 in Daredevil number 18.
Wow.
He did make costumes. In fact, he even made one for Foggy. However, he
Ooh.
went back and forth from good or bad, and he seemed to have a lot of inner demons. And at one point, though, he, Daredevil, and Elektra fought the Hand.
Ooh. Well, they kind of did that. I mean, he was just mentally unstable in the show. So they kind of did that. You know, he was working against his will for Fisk because they fought. I thought he was a really cool fight sequence between those two.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'll get him back, but you never know.
I
Last
don't
we
either.
saw him was getting arrested by the FBI.
Oh, that's right. And he Daredevil told Betsy to leave.
Yeah. So who knows, man? I hope we get some
But
sort
did
of
the
nod at least.
FBI. Oh, the FBI might have kept him alive just to make more suits. Maybe he makes Fisk's suits still.
Maybe. Oh, yeah.
I
Good
don't
call.
know.
I don't know, man. Why don't you go ahead before we go into a really good storyline? Give us the top 5 ninjas according to Marvel.
Top 5 ninjas according to absolutely everything you need to know about Marvel is number 5, Daredevil, number 4, Karnak, number 3, the Immortal Iron Fist, number 2, Elektra, and number 1, Shang-Chi.
I'm just saying, man, plenty of time. You could get these guys in together. Get the game together.
Maya Lopez, aka Echo, before we dip into the next Daredevil comic, she first appeared in Daredevil number 9 through to issue 15. So she was told Daredevil killed her dad, not Kingpin. Kingpin weirdly encouraged her to date Matt, which she did while attempting to avenge her father by hunting down Daredevil. In an effort to defeat him, she studied videos of Bullseye to use against Daredevil. When she learned Matt and Daredevil were one and the same, she decided she wasn't going to kill him, and he pled a really good case regarding the fact that he was a child when her dad was murdered. I don't know how she didn't put that together before.
I mean, if she found out who he was, you'd think that would be kind of common sense at that point, but
yeah.
What do I know?
Matt was like a super soldier and older than he looked.
Yeah, you know.
Several failed attempts, noticing that Daredevil can easily move through the dark, Maya then figures out Daredevil's weakness and exploits this by having a fight in a place where Daredevil's heightened senses are useless. That's very Homelander of her. Maya easily takes down Daredevil and nearly kills him, refusing only when she finds out that Matt is Daredevil and they're one of the same. And she's like, "Oh, I'm not going to do it." But that was the only reason why. I feel like she probably could have. She had him.
Probably. I mean, you've seen that a couple times, especially with Muse, who we kind of briefly touch on in one of these storylines. We'll kind of cross that path, but there is a big storyline that I think they're pulling from in the Born Again, which is a really good run. It's the Mayor Fisk storyline. So Charles Soule did a really good job on this. Kind of bleeds into Devil's Reign. It's actually not that old. 2015 is when the Mayor Fisk storyline kind of rolled out. So in this storyline, we see Matt erase public knowledge of his true identity as the Daredevil without amnesia. He doesn't have to use amnesia this time yet. He then begins working as the district attorney in a pro-vigilante capacity. You know, there seems to be, I'm no lawyer personally, but it seems like there's a conflict of interest there.
A
little bit. Now,
this
is the same time that Kingpin has become the mayor of New York. He tweaked things around a little bit when he ran as an independent and became, mayor of New York City. However, he's also very aware that not a lot of people trust or approve of his anti-vigilante position. So Mayor Fisk has a solution. He makes Matthew Murdock his deputy mayor. And at this point, Matt actually accepts so he can keep an eye on Fisk. Because, of course, Fisk can fix it. Not Wreck-It Ralph. It's Fix It Felix. But Fisk. Fix it Fisk. There we go.
Fisk. I need that.
During this time, Fisk, of course, keeps targeting New York vigilantes. And then, well, wouldn't you know it, there's a serial killer back on the streets that breaks out of prison. His name is Muse. Now, Muse has a really cool set of skills. Basically, Muse is has these weird supernatural powers that, like, Well, no. So
Okay.
Muse creates art pieces with human body parts. Yes, that wasn't this part of the skills I was talking about.
So it's like, that's a weird way to describe it. Okay.
So the reason why Muse is such a formidable opponent against Daredevil is he has this power that basically makes Matt's senseless useless. So Matt can't sense anything, which allows Muse to get the upper hand. It's like something about Muse creates this black void to where Matt can't hear or anything like that. And I wonder how far into the show they will go into that, because it's a really interesting, creepy. Muse is creepy. Like, there's no two ways
super
about it. Muse is a freaking terrifying character. And you add this
Insanely
little bit of a
psychotic.
supernatural element into it too. And I'm curious as to how they're going to play into that. I'm really excited to see how they do it in live action. But yeah, Muse is crazy. One of Daredevil's, like, one of my favorite villains for Daredevil. He's like the Joker level of
And he
psychotic.
blind spot, like, by just, like, shoving his fingers into his eyes, like,
Yeah. And then, of course, he creates art pieces with human body parts, because who doesn't
and
want to
he
do
thinks
that?
they're
But
beautiful.
yeah, Muse was created by Charles Soule and Ron Garney, first appearing in Daredevil number 11, volume 5, 2016. Meanwhile, back at the Fisk Manor, when he was a boy, Fisk staged a big-ass rally, during which the Hand attacks. They did this because Blind Spot would not join their leader, the Beast. Fisk ends up in a coma, and the police then get destroyed. As deputy mayor, now acting mayor, Matthew Murdock fights the Hand. Mayoral meets vigilante style, of course. He gets some local heroes in the Ordo Draconum, which is a secret order of Catholic knights. That's kind of fun. That's fun to say. Francisco. Once Fisk was all better, Matt was like, hey, dude, you can be mayor again, but only if you agree to stop attacking vigilantes, to which then Fisk agrees. Matt steps down as deputy mayor. Fisk was not actually the worst after that, and even worked with Daredevil for the betterment of the city, although he then realized he had known Matt's true identity, but it had been erased from his memory, and then he decided once again, I hate vigilantes.
How dare you erase my memory?
How could you? This was in Devil's Reign, actually, in 2021, issue number 1 by Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto. As plans for a Fisk presidency were being made, Fisk oversaw the passage of the Powers Act, which officially banned all vigilante activity in New York City. The Powers Act was a big deal in this run and may actually be hinted or getting hinted at by Fisk in the show.
Maybe not. We don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how much of this they really pull from, which we talked about on our live episode. Side note, Fisk obviously rigged the election, and
Fisk
the power
can fix it.
He obviously can. The Powers Act getting passed led to Tony Stark and the others deciding to have Luke Cage run as mayor in the current Marvel Comics. And believe it or not, Mayor Cage is a thing currently in Marvel Comics, which I think is pretty badass. Maybe that's how they could bring Luke Cage back into
It'd be pretty cool.
I think it would be pretty cool if you ask me.
Just do like an end credit scene of him just like prepping to be mayor, somebody telling him you should be mayor, like Misty being like, you should do this. Or maybe Claire.
Ooh, getting Misty Knight back. Yeah, man. I mean, they have been talking about how they want a lot of the Defenders back, and this would be a really cool way. Michael Coulter back, and
I love
Luke
him as Luke
Cage.
Cage.
I'm not sure how much I don't know. I know he's had different shows on the major networks, so I don't know how much of that he's still doing. If
He's got some demon show on Netflix, but I've heard it's actually pretty good.
Huh. I don't know. Well, that's what I have for that storyline. Why don't we transition and talk a little bit? And by a little bit, I mean Foggy's got some issues. So let's go and talk about Foggy here.
Poor Foggy.
Franklin
Only his mother
Foggy
calls
Nelson.
him Franklin. Yeah.
That's right. Why don't you take us away?
Franklin Foggy Nelson was also created by Stanley and Bill Everett and showed up in Daredevil number 1 in 1964. At first, he was a bit conflicted. He would fight with Matt over stuff, including both of their admiration for Karen. But he does love his friend, and we definitely get this throughout Daredevil. He's also felt inferior to Matt on more than one occasion, and we don't really, I feel like, ever get that in the show. I feel like Foggy's very confident in who he is and what he believes in the show, and I think that was a good change of pace. In the 80s, poor Foggy kind of got turned into the butt of the jokes because they just always loved to have a bully and a nerd in the 80s. As he was just a poor dude living in a superhero world. And then he met Matt in college, as did Elektra, and Foggy was actually not a fan of Elektra when he met her. They, of course, later opened Nelson and Murdock, and they hire Karen as an office manager. Poor Foggy notices Karen loves Matt, not him, so sadly he tries to move on. Then Foggy meets Abner Jonas, who gets him to run for district attorney and throws a party for him. Foggy starts dating an old school friend, but then poor Foggy It doesn't go so well. Daredevil learns that Abner Jonas is actually the bad guy, the organizer, and he's actually Foggy's girlfriend's lover. They tricked Foggy to try and control him. He does manage to stop their evil plans, though, and then he goes back to pining over Karen.
Of course he does.
Poor HIV-riddled drug addict Karen. Okay, so this is, of course, creates some tension between Nelson and Murdock because he's back into Karen, which sickens even more so as Matt can't explain why he can't do certain things without telling Foggy who he really is. It is crazy how long they went in the comics without
They're besties and they don't know it. Yeah, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. And
everybody else, Mayor Fisk even knows, but Foggy doesn't know.
Well, and I mean, you could really think like it's like in Dexter.
Foggy doesn't know. Foggy doesn't know. Foggy doesn't know. So don't
that
tell
Karen
Foggy.
And me do it in his bed every Sunday. Whatever it is.
Matt tells Foggy he's at church, but he's under Karen and Foggy doesn't know.
And Matt's not stopping.
Don't quit
Poor
our day
Foggy. Now I lost where I was. Okay, Foggy does still win district attorney. So yay for Foggy.
Good for him. That's not
and
total
he
loss,
offers
then.
Matt assistant to the district attorney. Not assistant district attorney, assistant
Matt
to the district
is just
attorney.
the assistant to everybody, huh? Assistant to mayor, assistant to the regional manager, assistant to district attorney.
Foggy then gets blackmailed by Mr. Klein, who forces Foggy to prosecute Black Widow. Natasha then gets Matt as her attorney. That's a sick burn right there. You're going to prosecute me. I'm going to use your best friend as my attorney. After this is when Matt and Black Widow go to San Fran to do some San Francisco stuff. While they don't leave on good terms, Matt does come back when Foggy needs him, like when Elektra is hired by Kingpin to kill Foggy. Foggy, however, recognizes Elektra as Matt's girl, and this makes Elektra not kill him, so that's nice. But then that causes Bullseye to kill her, so that's not nice. At one point, Foggy was so depressed he actually contemplated suicide, but after thinking he was going to die because he was stuck in the middle of a Vulture Daredevil fight, he realized how much he wanted to live. They went dark in a lot of these comics. So Kingpin sets it up that Matt looks like he paid off someone to perjure himself, which obviously Matty would never do that. Foggy defends Matt and gets him off, but also gets on Kingpin's radar for a job well done, and he hires Foggy through one of his firms, Kelco. As Kelco's attorney, Nelson defends the company against charges from a boy who was blinded by toxins.
When I was a boy.
Deposited in a river. This sounds oddly familiar. Foggy learns, though, he's working for Kingpin. He didn't know, so as soon as he realizes, he quits, because Foggy's a good guy. Then at another time, Karen and Foggy find Matt alive after thinking he was dead. Sounds familiar. Matt is out of it. He's in his yellow suit and he is maskless. Foggy finally puts it together and they become best friends and law partners again, just like at the end of season 1.
Took him long enough.
After Karen dies, Foggy and Matt are at a loss. But when Matt learns he was her sole beneficiary, they use the money she left to get back to business. Eventually, the world learns who Matt is, and he later gets arrested. When Foggy goes to visit him, he gets stabbed by some inmates. I think this is the story you were talking about.
Yeah.
This leads to Foggy going into witness protection after being declared legally dead. Meanwhile, Matt goes and cleans up the prison from the inside. Such a good boy. Such a good Catholic boy.
Yeah.
Foggy recovers
beat
from
everybody's
his
ass.
and he assumes a new identity, but he does eventually go looking for Matt, and ninjas show up in chaos.
As they do, ninjas show up. But Foggy's always ride or die. Matt and Foggy, that's, like I said, it's a very on-again, off-again relationship that didn't fully explore. There was that time briefly where, they weren't working together in the show. Yes, I do hope in some regard. I'm curious to see if we get the Foggy is, I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. It's hard not to say anything without spoiling. God dang it. All right. Gosh. Karen Page. Let's talk about Karen Page. How we mentioned before, she is Matt's main love interest in the comic books, first showing up in 1964. She was the office manager for Foggy and Matt in issue 57. So over 5 years after the comic book came out, Matt tells her his true identity. This was not the best for their relationship because obviously it never is. They slowly and painfully break up, and she leaves the series in issue 86 in 1972. Before leaving, she becomes an actress. She did return in the Born Again storyline in 86, which was issue 227. After the heroin addiction, though, she ends up doing cheap porn. Not just porn, but cheap porn. The cheap kind that not even your uncle was going to watch.
What? To each their own. Poor Karen.
Yeah, she went to be an actress, and Didn't work out. Sorry, Karen. You deserved better, girl. Of course, this is around when she sold Matt's identity for money because she got into all sorts of drugs, as some porn stars do, I guess. But she got real down bad, sold Matt's
I feel like they
identity.
really went for like a cliche with this. Like, I don't feel like that they would do.
I mean, it was what
I don't know.
the 80s, you know.
Although
so I
Kevin
guess
Smith did some of this to her too.
true,
So maybe
true. Kingpin gets his hands on the information. Fortunately for her, she goes back to Matt, who managed to survive Kingpin. He helps get her sober, and they start dating and actually live together. And a big hypocrite turn of events, she then decides to become an anti-porn activist because that's what happens when porn stars find Jesus. They then talk about how sex is bad and you will go to hell if you have it. And she helps Daredevil and Black Widow on a few occasions. And Karen actually becomes a radio show host that goes by the name of Paige Angel. If that's not a porn star name, come on, Karen. My God, have some originality, man. Paige Angel. Okay, come on. Come on. Anyways, at another point, she leaves Matt to become a talk show host in LA. Bullseye actually kills her in Daredevil Volume 2, number 5 in 1999. During a fight between Daredevil and Bullseye, Karen is impaled by Daredevil's billy club when Bullseye throws it at Daredevil and she takes the hit instead. I thought for sure they were going to go that route in season 3 of Daredevil, but they didn't end up doing that. So I don't think we'll ever see Karen Page die for a while. And I'm okay with her going to San Francisco.
I don't know if we said this before, but his billy club in the comics doubles as his blind stick, which I thought that was like actually kind of a cool idea. Because how many of these sticks does Matt have? Because he's always just throwing them away when
he's always throwing them in the alley, right?
Yeah.
in the Netflix series, he was constantly running into the alley and tossing his sticks away, and it's like,
yeah. Did he like go back later and find them?
There's a tracking device on it that he can get from his phone or whatever, his glasses or something. I don't know. I was curious about that too. He just would toss them to the side, and it's, hey, dude, you're a struggling lawyer. Those things can't be cheap.
Do that in TV shows and stuff, like, oh my God, I have no money. And then they like go out to eat and they go do this and they have nice
they're
clothes.
At the bar every night. It's like, you're poor.
Karen's nails are done. And I remember she opens up her like medicine cabinet to get like Advil or something. She's got like every single product in the world from like Macy's or whatever. I'm like, aren't all y'all poor? Like, I get they play off like Matt has, because of this big light thing, I got a great deal on this huge apartment in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, he saves a killer. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Matt never has to use electricity.
Both of them had huge apartments.
Yeah, actually.
I mean, it made sense for Foggy when him and Marcy were working for the big firm, but like Karen should not have had an apartment.
They're bringing in money. I mean, to be fair, Karen had a job.
Yes,
Matt
she was
at a startup law company though. So
that was a big studio apartment for being in the city. I can't even imagine how much that was.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she was doing porn on the side then. Who knows?
That's probably it.
Now, our last
it wasn't cheap porn.
It was not in New York, Manhattan. She was the maid in Manhattan. The last comic book origin is somebody in the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want to know who it is, here's your chance to leave. We will not say anything about what happens in the show. We're just going to do a very brief about a couple characters real quick. So the White Tiger, who is Hector Ayala, is from Puerto Rico. Living in the Bronx, he is the White Tiger. He gets his powers from an ancient amulet. The amulet gives Hector strength, speed, coordination, agility, durability, and healing. It also furthers his martial arts mastery, and it gives him the White Tiger costume. At first, it's like it
literally just appears. Yeah.
It's like Moon Knight.
It's like the flash ring.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
At first, it's like a Hulk alter ego thing, but then it becomes more of a Professor Hulk thing. When Hector transforms into the White Tiger, or back to Hector, any toxins present in the other system injuries, they're all fixed. At first, taking off the amulet has a painful withdrawal time, but that lessens over time. Hector came into the amulet simply by finding it. It does have a history with Kunlun, where the immortal Iron Fist is from. When first wearing it because of the dual identity and the withdrawal effects, his family thinks he's on drugs. He realizes he's the White Tiger, and he sees the White Tiger in the papers and recognizes the amulet. Hector and the White Tiger are both good guys. Now, on a wicked sad note, the actor who did play him passed away on Christmas Eve 2023 due to cancer. He was able to finish filming the show. He never saw the result. The second episode was actually dedicated to him, so shout out and rest in peace to Camar de los Reyes. That's very sad, man. It really sucks.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was him at the beginning of the episode when I saw that. And then it came
I didn't
up
either
on social media.
Yeah. And one last character, Heather Glenn. She is another new face, but she is a comic book love interest for Matt. She has a rich dad, a wealthy life in the comics. Her and Matt have a toxic relationship, and in the end, she kills herself. So interesting to see where her storyline goes. And
Because it seems like it's very different.
Yeah, agreed. It's vastly different. She's a therapist versus in the show she's a therapist. In the comic book, she's not a therapist at all, which we'll see what happens. But that is our oversimplification, if you will, of Daredevil's origin.
Yeah, so much more.
Like I said, I really believe that Daredevil, with his stories get really dark. There's a lot of crazy stuff involved. I think he has some really interesting storylines. If there's a particular Daredevil run that you want us to actually cover front to back and dive into and talk about, dudes, let us know. Drop us an email, hopsgeeknews@gmail.com. Drop us a DM on any of our socials. I'd be glad to, because I think this is actually my favorite Marvel character the more I kind of learn about him. And now I really want to just read more. And, maybe it's just hyperfixation, but I mean, I didn't feel this way in 2015 when the show first started coming out, but we did some deep diving in this, and I didn't realize just the amount of craziness that his comics invoked. But I really appreciate everyone hanging out. Like I said, if there's anything else you want us to dive into, let us know. Go listen to our Daredevil Born Again episodes 1 and 2 recap that we did for our Cantina Hour. We're going to be doing those pretty much weekly as the series rolls out. And shout out to our Patreons, of course, Riley, Corey, Tabby, Scott, Lynn, Patrick, Stacy, Jess, Tracy, Micah. Find us at GalaxyCon the last week in March with Megan from Vigilante Vibes and Nerd Initiative. We have a couple panels. We'll be at Benchtop Brewing. You can follow our socials, go to our website, all of that good stuff to see where exactly you can find us for that and what our panels are. And am I missing anything, Lauren?
I don't
feel like I'm selling something right now.
We got a lot of stuff coming up, though. We're doing a lot of creator interviews coming up, a lot of stuff.
Oh, yes. We do have a lot coming down. So this is your chance to like, subscribe, share, man. Like, never miss an episode. We do have a lot of really good stuff. We are going to continue covering our Supernatural. We've kind of fell off, but our schedules haven't aligned fully, and there's the busyness. So if you joined us from our Supernatural panels or any of that, we will get back to that, I promise. March is going to be a lot of Daredevil, but then Andor kicks off April. And before you know it, May is Star Wars month, baby. We got Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary.
We have Thunderbolts in May too. So we will have a little bit of Marvel.
Yep. But not even that. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is 35. So we're going to be talking some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with our boy DT from the Space Castle. Check that out.
Michelangelo beer last night for that.
Oh yeah, I got to get the Cowabunga. That's right. But yeah, so from Nighthawk, actually, we have a lot coming on. Make sure you turn on the notifications. Let us know what you want to hear, see, all that good stuff. And thanks for coming to the Hell's Kitchen with us. I hope you had a good time. Because when I was a boy...
I was going to say, before you leave, let me tell you a story about my father.
Let me tell you, Vanessa. I know all about it. Yeah, God. Cheers, everybody.